Hey, everybody, we're back here again for big talk about small business in beautiful Fayetteville and Rogers and Bentonville, all the communities that make up Northwest Arkansas. We'll skip over like Lowell and Centerton. Okay. Bethel
Farmington.
Heights. Yeah.
Bethel.
Bethel Heights, just a spot in the road. But the biggies here are Fayetteville, Springdale, Rogers, and Bentonville.
Yes.
But anyway, it's great to be here in this bubble of our local economy with my buddy Eric Howerton.
What's up, Mark?
Everything. I mean,
you busy, aren't you?
Man, I am so busy. I know you are too, though.
Yeah.
But it's all fun stuff.
It is fun stuff. It's fun. It's fun to watch what you've done and see it grow. It's fun to start some things up that are new.
Yeah.
Take a little risk here and there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It keeps you alive. Let your blood pump.
No kidding. You've got a big meeting of the White Spider people right now, right?
Yeah. We have a little bit over 100 folks that all came in. We got about a little less than half that are remote, right? That are in different parts of the U.S. and they all came in for a week, and we call it Team Week. We just have a bunch of activities, everybody getting together and just keeping that culture strong, right? Which is nothing more than just people sticking together and talking and getting to know each other,
having fun together,
having fun, figuring things out, you know. And it's been a fun time. I mean, I tell you, it is fun to plan it. When you're planning it, you just keep stacking all these activities together. But it never fails. Like on day 3, like, man, you're just like, you've been, you're
whipped.
You are whipped, man. Whipped with fun.
Yeah.
That's a good thing, man. But how about you? You got a really cool thing going on, don't you?
Yeah, I got several things. The big one that's really preoccupying my mind and attention right now is my involvement with Janus Motorcycles.
Mm-hmm.
And Janus is a really unusual company. It's got young owners and managers, 35, 36, 37 years old. Our founder, Richard Worsham, is an architect and a tremendously talented designer. And the company makes small displacement, highly customized and very unique bikes that look like they came out of the 1920s.
Yeah, they're cool. They're so cool.
And then we got one model that looks like it came out in maybe the late 60s, a street scrambler version called the Griffin. But the Halcyon series of 250s and 450s, they all look like they came out of the 20s, but they're completely unique designs.
Yeah.
And
you can customize them. I checked them out on the site. Like when you showed it to me, it was cool. I built my own bike.
Yeah, I just sit there for hours on that bike configurator, and I come up with different color combinations and all. And I think that's a big plus that we can do that. And people can get exactly what they want, and they're handmade in Goshen, Indiana.
That's crazy. Small shop.
Well, it's not that small. I mean, we've got a regular factory going over there. We're making about 6 bikes a week right now.
Nice.
And but in any case, so yeah, that's taken a lot of my time. I'm really, these guys asked me if I would help them get to the next level, and they have been a growing company. They're a profitable growing company, sort of classic in the sense of, when you're in that business, your R&D and creating new stuff sucks up tons of capital. And just building product and trying to deal with all the supply chain issues today, the response of the company has been to make more and more of its own parts in the United States. So very little now comes from overseas, but nevertheless, it's kind of new for me. I've never really been in a manufacturing business like this, where you have so many different parts and pieces to think about and to have there when you want to go build something.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I'm working with these guys. We're looking at some legal organization changes, creation of a new board, new business plan, growth vision.
Yeah,
that is going to be very exciting.
That's what it sounds. It sounds like that they have you coming in because you know what the next stages are, right?
Yeah,
like where you're trying to get to. And I mean, right when you said legal organization,
yeah,
You can learn the hard way, like on the legal side, right? If you're not ready for that stuff, as you kind of get bigger or start getting what your exit strategy is, the attorneys all of a sudden become
Well, these attorneys, I tell you, they bug the absolute hell out of me.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
When they just put everybody in an LLC right off the bat, and they don't really think about what the long-term ramifications are of that. If you need to change ownership or add ownership, and I do plan on investing in this company, and
cool.
so it's really sort of a dream job for me.
Is. Yeah, I mean, it's like that. You couldn't have created a job.
Yeah,
for
better
you
than
that's
this.
better. Yeah.
And so we're talking about a lot of exciting marketing things. The company has sold all of its product directly to the consumer without dealers. So we were thinking we wanted to build a dealer network of, select number of dealers in certain strategic locations. In fact, we did sign up a couple already, but we're also doing some interesting promotions with non-motorcycle related businesses.
Nice. So, as example,
we've got a bike sitting over at Walker Brothers Clothiers right now in Fayetteville with my buddy John Cole, and because his audience, they're people who appreciate quality. They're willing to pay the price for better design and materials, and appreciate things of taste. And so we think that's a really interesting.
So it's almost
avenue.
like you could have a whole bunch of showrooms all across the U.S.
Exactly. Yeah, we can.
And you don't have to stock them with a bunch of inventory. You just show them off, and they go to the site or they inquire. And
we have a QR code that take you right to the order site. And so we're kicking around some ideas of creating what we call a Janus Design Center. That has samples of various parts of the bike and different colors of fenders and fuel tanks and striping and leather and all the stuff that you get to pick out. So I think it's really cool. We haven't really decided exactly yet how we're going to implement this. Airports are another possibility.
That would be smart.
But everything, there's a cost associated with it. And truthfully, right now, the problem really isn't demand. It's just trying to build stuff as fast as we can sell it. So that's we're going to spend some time on some of these things next week. I'm going there, and
where are they out?
Really looking forward to it.
In Indiana, you said
Goshen, Indiana.
Indiana.
It's of all places, since we have a Goshen, Arkansas, where my daughter's horse farm is, right near here. Most educated city in Arkansas, by the way, is Goshen.
Goshen?
Yes.
I thought it was Cave Springs.
Nope, it's Goshen.
I don't know. I just saw a report that
I saw Goshen before, so I don't know. You live in Cave Springs.
Yeah.
Maybe when you moved there,
yeah, right.
You moved out of Cave Springs. What am I saying? You're in Rogers now.
But yeah, I have a little spot in Cave Springs.
You do.
And I was researching its demographic profile. Right.
Maybe it's past Goshen now.
It might have surpassed Goshen.
Yeah. Well, you're building quite a compound over there. That's impressive on the hill. Every time I go to the airport, I'm going to see Eric's place up there on the hill and go, there's Eric up there looking down on the rest of us plebes.
Yeah, right.
As we drive by in our old Fords. Okay. He's up on the hill. Maybe he'll hear me if I honk the horn.
Maybe I'll wave.
Maybe I'll stop and do a smoky burnout and
bet you would
right there.
Do some donuts right in the front. Do some yard farming.
But anyway, the Janus thing, it preoccupies my mind, and I'm really excited about it. Then we've got this mid-century modern glassware project, which one of your businesses is helping us out with.
Yeah.
And we're going to be selling mid-century modern drinking glasses.
That's
in a
cool.
wide variety of sizes and styles, because
you kind of, I'm seeing a pattern of your creative vision and style.
What's that?
I mean, they're kind of like, you have this nostalgic, like, sense to you.
I've always been drawn to the retro design. Like when they announced they were going to bring out a new Volkswagen Beetle, I ordered one 2 years before they came. The same thing with the new Bronco. When they announced the Mini Coopers, I wanted one of those. They're all retro designs.
Yeah.
The Thunderbird, when they brought that back, I couldn't get one of those, but I wanted one of those too. So yeah, I do like retro, but the great thing is that I like it when it's new, but it still harkens back to a past era.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, yeah, the mid-century modern glassware, that's really exciting. My now 17-year-old's music career, that's another one
And you're
where,
managing that. You're
yeah,
her manager,
yeah,
basically.
exactly. Know nothing about it, but that never
But it
stopped
could
either
be
of
just,
us,
it
right?
could be. No, it never did. Actually, it's even more exciting when you know nothing.
Yeah, maybe
You
you
know,
don't fall into the traps of thinking why something won't work,
right?
right?
Exactly. And then, yeah, exactly. I think you'll be a great music manager. I keep
Well,
thinking, like Michael Jackson's dad and like
yeah,
that.
thanks. Like Michael Jackson's dad. You're
Or
or
Britney
Britney
Spears.
Spears. Yeah.
Like that just
Well,
comes to my mind, like as you get into the
ah,
music managing business.
well, hopefully her life won't turn out like either of those
No,
did.
it won't. It won't.
But anyway, no, she's got this new EP coming out. She writes all her own music, and it's fantastic. And we've
Yeah.
already had some. Just, I mean, it was so quick. We got interest from people who are really big in the music world, which really is exciting because I
Yeah.
think a lot of people have a hard time breaking through.
Well, the fact that
To that.
she writes her own lyrics, she writes her own music,
Yeah,
she sings and she plays,
right.
right?
And
And records herself.
she designs the album covers and stuff
That's
too. I
insane.
mean, she's really
She's
a talented
like
artist.
full service
Yeah.
freaking musician.
She really is.
That's
So
cool. It makes the manager's job really easy.
yeah, it does.
Like, I mean, all you have to really do is just kind of like, post it online.
Yeah, well,
Don't fail at that, man. That'd be
and write some checks.
right. Yeah, you got to do that too.
But no, we've had a lot of help. Truthfully, her music teacher from the private school that she went
Mhm.
to has been a fantastic resource. Never would have happened without his help.
Oh wow, that's cool.
He knows her, has known her since she was a little kid.
Yeah.
And he
got
really
a reason to kind of protect her, keep her away from the wolves of the music industry. I'm sure there is in every industry, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And he knows how to work with her, and he's been a huge benefit. And helped us get studio musicians and put songs together and stuff. So
That's cool.
that's a big deal. But yeah, I mean, we've got big talk about small business.
That's
right.
That's working. That's rolling, man.
It's rolling
It's huge,
right along,
dude. Yeah,
and it's going
And I
to
know
be
you-
wildly successful.
Well, I loved your email the other day. It's like, okay, when we gonna start making money on this thing? I told Parker, I was like, hey man, I hope you got some game plans on Friday when Mark comes in for the next recordings.
Yeah, it's
a
time.
big talk. It's time to start showing what's up.
Time to go to the market.
Yeah,
with
but
some
I'm
of this.
excited about this though. Because there's just so many topics to hit on. A lot of folks with different experiences. So many different perspectives
Exactly.
people can take.
Well, we've already
So-
had some good guests in here.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, it's been fun.
So tell me, what else are you involved in?
So podcastvideos.com is what it is, right? It is what it says it is. We were talking
I know, I
about that
love
right
that.
before the show. Just it's a name of a business that tells you exactly what it does. And so we basically what we're trying to do is streamline the process of creating podcast videos
Yep.
and all like little things that surround that. But what's really neat is that when you think about what we're doing here, this is obviously a podcast, but the ways that a business can use this, I mean, everything from new product releases to, but what I think is going to be interesting is like if you're a big corporation, like, for cultural reasons and communications, internal comms could be pretty neat too.
Oh, there's just so many
little
ways
side
to
things
go.
to it.
Yeah.
And so we hope to really, and we're opening up the first, so we're in our incubator studio as we're talking right now.
Right.
But in here the next 2 or 3 months, we'll have a full out, pimped out version of a studio with like 3 different set scenes. It's gonna be sweet, man.
This place is pretty sweet,
It is
buddy.
pretty cool.
I mean, come on.
It is cool, but this one's gonna be really sweet.
You just created this as your own little haven, little
Yeah.
domain to come to, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because
Get all
I wanted to be on the mic just like you like to be on the mic.
Right.
And I want to be able to do it quickly
Yep.
and get it out, and not worry about all the details. Because actually, like what you do when you're like you're the host of this big talk about small business. You're the man, and you come up with these ideas
Mm.
and to think about what are the bullet points you're going to talk about in this episode. That stuff, becomes a little bit more work than I think people give it credit towards. And if we were trying to do this ourselves, plus edit it, plus publish, plus distribute, I mean, all those things.
Well, it takes a team.
It does.
It doesn't matter. Any entrepreneurial venture.
Yes.
Takes a team of
Agreed.
people. And when you see the people, and they say, well, I'm a solopreneur. I think that's a bullshit thing anyway. Okay. Because how can you be a solopreneur if you're going to build a business that has any value and is going to survive beyond you?
No,
it doesn't.
No.
The business is you. Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Anything worth doing takes a team of people. And, nobody's good at doing everything.
No.
And your ability to assemble this team and get them all going in one direction, that determines how successful you're going to be.
It's true.
I think.
And what I've enjoyed is working with the team, actually. We got a few folks that are, we got a really cool culture going on, and they're learning a lot of things. I'm learning a lot of things. But what's neat is everything that they do, like we're able to do multiple different types of businesses.
Well, all your things sort of support each other.
They do.
That's the thing. They relate to each other. Yeah.
And so it's funny. You actually mentioned that in a few episodes ago about just like you don't have one bet.
Right.
And we certainly don't with what we're doing.
Right.
So that, and then we got another little company or media is really what we're creating called Doing Business in Bentonville. And it's really about demystifying and advancing omni-channel retail. Mm-hmm. So there's a huge need out there. Like people say omni-channel. Well, what does that mean? Everybody has a different perspective. And so we're actually trying to define it. Mm-hmm. But you can't define it in one statement. It's going to be through massive amounts of content that where like we basically, you go there and you can learn everything about whether it's technology, merchandising, marketing, supply chain, entrepreneurs, investors, community, government, all these folks are involved in that because it is new retail.
Sure.
Like I talk a lot to, through White Spider, we work in that space on just like the digital catalog side. Mm-hmm. But when I speak with suppliers and even Walmart, it's like, we need to all realize like we're in a retail revolution.
Right.
That's
being redefined.
It's been completely redefined. And it's not even what Amazon has created on e-com.
Right. Well, especially when you see things like Walmart going to immediate delivery with drones.
Exactly.
Right? That's a big development right there.
And you got to take some stock in the fact that Walmart doesn't do anything and execute things on a whim and just an idea. They have to think very strongly about anything that they launch. And so they're doing autonomous vans that you can see driving around. The light bulb should be clicking on for folks. Mm-hmm. Like, so how do you as a supplier brand support that in a new retail environment? Because you can't do what you used to do.
Right.
And you certainly can't even do what you're doing today. And
you can, but you just won't be doing very well. And you probably decline over time. Right.
There you go. Thank you. Yeah, you said it.
They've got, some of these companies have so much inertia, though, and they're so big and bureaucratic that they can't really respond to changes in the market.
Yep. The cool news is over the last few years, I have seen some really big brands start to do that. Like it's forced. Because heck,
evolve or die.
It is.
Or we could say, as everybody likes to say today, pivot. Okay. I'm sorry. Right. I hate that word now. My wife's like, well, it's a perfectly good word. Yeah, it is, except I hate hearing it so damn much.
Right.
It's like you read like a single LinkedIn article and they say pivot 5 times in it.
Well, you're not going to like my LinkedIn post about the art of pivoting.
Is that what it is?
I'm going to tag you in it.
Yeah, do that. But no, it is true, though. These companies have to evolve, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, you're helping them figure that out.
They're forced to. And what's doing it is it's really technology that's forcing it. And also the informational, what we call the systems or whatever you might want to call them, the connection speeds, right? The ability for the technology to be leveraged by the customer, and the customer's sitting there using everything that's coming their way for their convenience, and the retailer's forced to evolve, and then you got the brands that have to come alongside. So that kind of the brand side is honestly like the last step in all that stuff. But there's a big gap between the brands all the way to the customer, or really between the brands and the retailer, which is what we're trying to help solve, which requires a community, requires entrepreneurs, requires investors,
right,
and everybody to start thinking this way, because there's so much. Arkansas, specifically Northwest Arkansas, and specifically Bentonville, should be the omni-channel retail center of the world.
Sure.
And we can't miss that. Walmart's doing it anyway, but
absolutely.
they're sending a lot of money to Austin and New York and California.
Yeah. Let's keep that money here.
Why wouldn't we?
Yeah.
We should be evolving. We should own that.
Sure.
And so that's our mission, right?
Yeah.
And we want to see that happen.
Well, so many people outside our area do not understand it. You know, when I moved here from Boston originally, although I'm from Missouri, but when I moved here from Boston, everybody's like, Arkansas?
mm-hmm.
I'm like, yeah. I go, it's really changed a lot. We've got a dentist in town and we got a cement pond.
Got some shoes.
Yeah.
I love being from Arkansas.
I love it.
I love it.
It disarms people. They don't
It does.
realize.
They're like, oh, well, he's not going to do nothing. And then you flank them.
Yeah, exactly. You just kind of sneak in under the radar and just shock them, surprise them.
That's right.
But that's great. You're involved in some really big stuff. I know that when you left Zweig Group and you started White Spider, or Zweig White as it was at the time, and you started White Spider, you said that you wanted to get involved with some of these consumer product companies and all. And I was like, oh, geez, Eric, that's going to be so hard to break into.
It was.
I mean, I can remember having this conversation. I'm like, are you sure? You know, that's going to be hard to break into. You got all these companies. They're not based here. Their marketing is done in places like New York and San Francisco and LA. And this is not a hotbed of,
of startup agencies trying to help big brands. Yeah.
Yeah. But you did it. I mean, you made it happen. But,
well, we found a niche, or do you call it a niche?
No, I call it a niche.
A niche. So we found that niche, right? And
I do say potato though too, and not potato. So
I'd say potatoes. We're on the same page.
Good.
But we found that, and I did have a really successful guy tell me and explain it really well. He goes, you didn't go a mile wide, an inch deep, like a lot of our competitors did, which is what most of the agencies and stuff are doing. We went a mile deep, inch wide. Very niche service set in tech set.
Right.
With also a very niche customer base.
Yes.
It was all Walmart, and it was all about digital catalog management.
And those are the things they needed
and that's
the most.
What they needed.
If you think about it. Yeah.
And and there was some risk to it because,
sure.
But, because the future had to unfold, like we were always a little step ahead of the industry. But we kept dogging it and it would just catch up a little bit with us. It still hasn't caught up to where we've been as far as our capabilities and our strengths. But it's interesting. I think we're always like about a year and a half in advance.
God love you.
Yeah. Before the market starts going, oh, we actually do need that.
Yeah.
And then by the time they do, then we're just sitting there with kind of like a net.
Yeah. With the solution. We're a solutions provider.
With our solutions that we pivoted on.
Yeah. Everybody is
pivoting solutions.
That's the other thing. Everyone's a solutions provider. Yeah. Like, do you have anything for dry eye? Because I need some solution for that. I came up your solutions providers. This contact lens of mine over here is bugging me.
That's a solution.
Yeah, that's it. I need a solution for contact lens solution. Anyway, it's always good to poke fun at the terminology that just gets beaten into the ground. My kids are all saying slay now. If you had that, everything is slay. It's like that's slay or you slay. I can see you slay better than that's slay.
Right.
But anyway, that's the
big
word.
Word.
Yeah. So I'm going to be cool and you're really slay, Eric.
Thanks, Mark. That was a slay thing for you to say.
So no, there were a couple things though. It's great that you got all this stuff going on. You got your real estate projects. You got your outdoor. What do we call that? Get outfitters, luxury excursions.
Yep.
Maybe sometime we can do one of those related to motorcycles and provide rental Janices.
Yeah.
That's something
I told you my wife won't let me ride a motorcycle though. I told you that.
Oh man. I'm sorry.
Can you believe I put that like on a recorded interview?
Well, I will say my first two spouses had absolutely nothing to say about me riding motorcycles.
Right.
now that I'm on number 3,
She got something to say about it?
she doesn't really love them.
Yeah.
But she doesn't mind little short excursions
Yeah.
around, you know.
Well, maybe your wife can talk to my wife.
Yeah.
Let me go on some short motorcycle excursions.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Means you go around the block and come back.
She's not the best one, since she had to take me to the hospital after my accident in 2016 when I totaled a new Thruxton 1200 in the first day. As a very experienced rider, you know, I mean, anyway.
Did somebody hit you?
Yeah, kid pulled right out in front of me on Lafayette, 20 feet ahead of me, and I hit him. I didn't even fall off the bike, but I ruined my left hand, totaled the bike. See that right there? I can't make a fist over here now.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So anyway.
How did you not come off the bike? What do you mean? Like you?
I was still on the bike.
How does that happen?
I locked him up and I hit the guy and I didn't fall off the bike. I just crushed my hand in between use these 2 fingers for the clutch over here. And the clutch lever between the car, the clutch lever and my handlebar, just crushed those fingers. Anyway, she had to take me to the hospital. She wasn't very happy. Even though we weren't married at that time.
But you could tell she cared about you at that moment.
Yeah, of course I could. She's been a good friend for a long time.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah.
We all work together.
Yeah.
So no, but so I mean, all these different things you're doing. It's very exciting, and that's one of the great things about entrepreneurship. I think people don't understand. They think, oh, people do it so they can make a lot of money. No. It's you do it because you got things you're passionate about or problems you want to solve, or things you can't find where you are. These are all, you know.
So true, man. It is so true, because I think Steve Jobs said it well, actually, right? Not to overuse him, like, you know, some of the words like solutions and such, because everybody uses him. But he did, in his little speech that he gave to the college, was talking about, you got to do something you love. Yeah. But I loved his next part to it. It says, because it's so much damn work. And if you don't have that behind you and what you're trying to, if it's about money, if it's money driven, like you're not going to last very long, man.
I'm telling you, you know, I was just thinking about that today. And again, I'm sure some of our listeners would disagree with this. Sure. All right. And I won't say that you don't make trade-offs, but I will also say that all of the successful people I know are people who engage about 18 hours a day. Okay. Doesn't mean that they're going to always, you know, maybe there's a 2 or 3 hour delay. Yeah. Sometimes, but they're on 18 hours a day. It's like one of the great things I like about Janice, and one of the reasons I'm really interested in it, aside from the fact that it's an unbelievable brand that has a cult following. Okay. What's that worth? It's
a lot,
right? But the other thing is, young management that is engaged 7 days a week, 18 hours a day. Yep. Always thinking. And I love that. Yeah. And most successful people I know are like that. Yeah. The ones who aren't successful are the ones that go, you know, it's 5 o'clock, quitting time. Woo, you know, grab my lunchbox and go home. I'm not going to think about work again till Monday. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Disengage.
No. Yeah. Disengage. It's bullshit. Okay. It's great. I understand the reason why people want to do it.
And sometimes you have to escape.
You do. I mean, I find, like, out there cutting my lawn for 6 hours that it takes me to do it. I find that is a great time to disengage and meditate or whatever. But yeah, anyway, the engagement level is critical, and thinking about this stuff all the time. And the successful people I know who are entrepreneurs do that.
Yep. You have to.
But there's a couple of things I wanted to talk about today, because they're pet peeves of mine. One of them is the obsession with the startup community with raising capital, and the obsession with those who want to measure and report on the success of our entrepreneurial ecosystem here in Northwest Arkansas and elsewhere. Right. Using the metric of startup capital raised as their primary metric. What do you think of that?
It's not a good idea. I'll preface it with, we're not talking about there is no need for capital.
Right.
not by any means.
Exactly.
But,
I mean,
but I
I'm going to be raising some capital soon for Genesis, perhaps.
Absolutely.
To fund this growth. I get that.
But especially to like aspiring entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs. Because I think, first of all, my core belief is you either are or you are not an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I understand that.
You know what I'm saying?
But I think more people could be than are.
Agreed.
Okay.
Like they don't. And I mean, I think there's a lot of people that don't realize that they are.
Right.
Right. That was my case when I started. I didn't even know what entrepreneur meant.
Right.
Like I found that out 3 years after, or 4 or 5, and somebody said, "Hey, so you're an entrepreneur?" I'm like, I don't know. Let me look that up. I don't know what you mean. I'm just trying to do something here.
When I first started the company, Mark Zweig and Associates became Zweig, White and Zweig Group, I was sitting there by myself and I was lonely. And I thought, if I grew this company, I'd have some other people to talk to. I mean, I'm serious.
Yeah.
There wasn't any just grand vision for it, at that point in time.
You were solving something.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, to your point, like the problem that we have is that we market to and gather together young folks that, and entice them with the idea that, hey, if you win this pitch, then there's money for you.
Right.
And you can do your dream.
Yes. Funding.
That you can get funding for your dream and become an entrepreneur. In which in the capital behind that marketing effort, there's a lot of reasons why that happens. Because if you have successful people that have wealth and are investors, they're usually highly connected.
Right. There can be some benefits. There's no question.
Totally. Yeah. We're just talking about why this is maybe not the best idea all the time, right?
Yeah.
Or really why it's not so good that it's the overwhelmingly the biggest
focus, the
focused message, that's out in the market today, right?
Yes.
And so these, next thing you know, like you have a bunch of folks that are maybe entrepreneurs or maybe not, that all they're doing is spend their time on how to build the perfect presentation.
Yeah, to raise capital. Instead of build the perfect product or service to sell to their ideal client.
That's right.
Or customer, right?
That's right.
I mean, that needs to be the focus in my mind.
Yes. Agreed.
And so it distracts them right away, is your point.
Yes, that is very much my point. I can tell you as with firsthand experience, and I've done it, I've been through it a few times. So we didn't raise capital for White Spider. But when we did get down in that road, it was the most distracting thing in our business for our top leadership.
Of course. Well, but the other thing is, though, when you did at that point, at least you're in the driver's seat.
Absolutely.
Because you've got a proven, validated business model.
Yep.
That you can say, people spend money to get this from us.
That's right.
Okay. And now you're in a totally different position where you don't have to give everything up in order to get it.
Exactly.
That's another point, though.
Yep.
Okay. But again, that goes back on this whole idea of startup capital raised as a measurement of the success of our ecosystem. I mean, we should be looking at capital raised by established companies, right? As a measurement. Or the value of companies that are sold that were in the area.
Yes.
Or the revenue of those companies, of growth companies, or the growth rate of those companies, or the employment of those companies. Those things to me are much more important than startup capital raised. And beyond that, why just focus on startups? Growth companies, they create a lot of jobs, right?
They do.
And they make a lot of money. And
everything is dead on, because I mean, we were a very fast growing and profitable company for pretty much for all the time that we were since we started, but there was never recognition on that. Ever.
Right. No, there's no recognition. Nobody knows it, basically.
Nobody knows it. Nobody really cares too much about it.
Right.
But over here on this other side, you have all this momentum and all this talk.
And all this support
and all this
from the ecosystem.
Yes. About for no history ideas.
Yes.
And it becomes like just a Shark Tank festival.
Yeah.
And which it's unfortunate, because I can remember, and another thing that I think that could be a little damaging is that from the investment community, investor community themselves,
Mm-hmm.
to your point, like there's so much attention, and you get pulled into that versus maybe looking at some of these businesses that are running really well, that are started right here
Yeah.
by really great entrepreneurs that are
Sure.
that if you gave that
They're
if you
slogging
invested,
it out,
yeah,
and they're just growing
and
and
you can
doing
have a
well.
great return on your capital if you
Right.
invest it.
Right. Well, that's the difference in venture capital and private equity.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the private equity people put their money into established growing businesses, and the VCs are funding the startups. But anyway, that's just a pet peeve of mine. I think entrepreneurship's a lot more than startups.
Yep.
I think it's a lot more than raising capital. We need to be more focused on the business itself and doing things and validating that it works. And that takes me to my second pet peeve is everything's about validation of the idea. And you know what I'm talking about. And all the testing, we're supposed to test our hypothesis. Okay. I swear, I know this sounds terrible to my academic friends out there, and I got a lot of them. I work in the university. It's a great school, and I work with some very intelligent people and capable people. And so, I don't want to get crosswise with them.
Yeah.
I've never done a hypothesis test for any business I started. Now, I have created stuff and stuck it out in front of the market to see how they respond.
Sure.
Okay. That to me is the ultimate hypothesis test.
How does the market respond to it?
Yeah. Does the market want it? Do they want to buy it? Okay. Now that's good. All right. Market doesn't like it. Market doesn't buy it. That's bad.
Better pivot.
Better. Yeah. Pivot on this, buddy. But no, seriously, I think that's a really big, we need to encourage people to do more. And in my mind, do things as early as you possibly can that will validate your idea. And again, though, I mean, and I hate to keep beating the dead horse, not everything's got to be a new idea. I mean, it's great if you got a new idea and you break through. I mean, you've been very successful doing that. But that's like saying I'm growing up in the ghetto and I'm going to be a pro basketball player.
Right.
Or I'm going to go to college and become a certified public accountant. Which one's more likely to happen?
Right. Right.
The CPA.
The CPA.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's a lot less risky. And there's, for every pro basketball player, there's a lot more accountants or whatever, engineers or whatever it is. And so not everything involves doing something new. In fact, most things really don't. They're just a little differentiation or a little twist.
So for our listeners, to go into a little bit more detail about the hypothesis and the theories. Like, I mean, so what does that look like to some of these young entrepreneurs that are going through that pathway? Like specifically, like what's the requirements? What's the exercise that they're undergoing?
Well, they're trying to figure out whether or not their idea is any good. And so, they're running it past people, potential
advisors,
potential customers, potential investors. Okay. Once again, I go back to that to see if they're interested in it.
So they come to the table, they're seeking investment, and they go and they get feedback from that investment conversation, and they go to the next one.
Yeah.
And then just kind of you ping pong back. And after all these different presentations, you feel like you have the ultimate business idea and it's fail proof.
Yeah. And then if you actually start the business, they throw a lot of money into it, which is another problem because it doesn't create the discipline that it takes to have a successful going concern post startup.
Yep.
That's always been my thing too, I think, is if you know what it's like. I mean, when you're just like, God, I gotta get my bills out immediately so I can get some cash in here immediately so I can pay everybody and pay my rent and my insurance or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just that kind of discipline, that sense of urgency only comes from being undercapitalized. If we just started out with big chunks of money, it's kind of interesting too. I've seen studies, and not to say this is a prediction for either you or me, although to a certain extent, I could say I've lived this out. Entrepreneurs generally do not do as well with their second venture as they do their first. Did you know that?
I didn't know that. No.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons is they've got too much money.
Yeah.
It's not that important.
Yeah.
It's not like do or die survival time. You know
kinda
what I mean?
Yeah. As an entrepreneur, I mean, I lived, I heard one of my favorite quotes, and I always have these things, Mark. I apologize.
It's all right. No need.
Okay. But one of my favorite quotes that I've heard is when my back's is in the corner, I fight like hell.
Mm-hmm.
That's when the truth of yourself and your tenacity, your will, your determination, all that stuff. And then your creative thinking, your adjusting, your adaptation,
Right.
figure shit out, man. Like that's when when you are in those spots and you have nowhere to turn.
Well, some people figure it out. Some people give up.
Right.
I mean, that's not a good quality.
But if you do have dollars,
yeah,
like you're not against the corner.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're not in it, like in the engaged 18
true.
hours, like you're talking about.
It's true.
It is true, man.
It really is. So let's talk a little bit about back on startups.
Yeah.
What do you think are the qualities that people really need to be successful? You say they're either entrepreneurs or they're not. So what do they need to be successful as a startup? What do they need?
Man, I think the number one thing is like, can you see a market need?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, can you legitimately, can you see something that must be fixed? Because you can see the low ceiling for the market. I mean, it's not necessary. I mean, it doesn't have to be like something brand new, like you're talking about. Like it could be it could be just a certain sector of the market that is paying a certain price with only a certain select few vendors, but that whole price should be a lot less so that there can be more done, or it's not scaling or whatever it might be. So I think you have to be able to see that.
Mm-hmm.
And
how do you see those things?
Man, I honestly, my experience has been kind of in passing in a way.
Uh-huh.
Like I don't go out and look for ideas or look for market needs. I actually kind of bump across them.
Okay. Because you're in the market, because you're studying it, because you're working in it.
Because I'm living my life.
Uh-huh. So
I mean, in all honesty,
you see your own problems and you figure, oh gosh, these must be problems other people have.
Yeah,
I think
sure.
that's valid.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, hell, I can't tell you how many like market needs I see if I go get a cup of coffee.
Yeah, no,
you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
it's just, or you can be driving, or you can be or traveling, or whatever it might be, and you're just like, man, something needs to be done about that. Now I got a list of ideas that I love to fix, but then you have to kind of start prioritizing.
Yeah, can't do everything.
Can't do everything. And so, and then I think that it's the one that, I mean, and by happenstance, like in my experience at least, like I picked up on one of them and I became passionate about fixing that idea. I don't know what's necessarily driving that, but but a lot of times it's like, I don't think that anybody else is going to get it done. And even if they try, they wouldn't do it right.
Right.
And so somebody needs to get this shit done. So it's going to be me. I'm just going to do it. Right. Yep. And then I think the next thing, honestly, that you need to have is like the word no just encourages you. Mm-hmm. I mean, I remember.
Like, I'll show you.
Yeah, dude. You walk away, right? And you're not demoralized by somebody's perspective. Now there's absolutely many times I wish I would have taken some advice back in the day, and applied certain things. Mm-hmm. But in no case can I recall of saying I wish I wouldn't have done what I did. And even if it was one of my businesses that failed.
But I do think, as it relates to no, if you're going to be successful, you have to be able to say no to some stuff.
Sure. Oh yeah,
because part of it is just the liberation. I mean, just like when I got out of being a Vistage chair, it just freed up so much mental capacity that I had 5 new things within a month going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because and I loved my members and all that. Mm-hmm. There were other aspects of it I didn't care for.
Right.
And just the time it took. But you got to say no to some stuff.
Yeah, you do.
To keep your mind free so you can work on these problems, or they're not always a problem. I think and they're not always market needs as much as their market wants.
Sure. Yeah.
Sure. Doesn't have to be a need. It could just be a want.
Yeah. It could be. Absolutely.
I mean, 100%. Like, for example, in the motorcycle world, nobody needs a motorcycle.
Right.
I mean, it's a toy. That's all it is. Yeah. Okay. But people want them. And if you look at Janus, it's such a great example of what you were saying that. So there's custom bike makers. They all focus on big, heavy, big displacement bikes. Nobody did a custom bike that's smaller and lighter and easier to deal with. Okay. Janus is the only provider of that.
It's like a mess, man.
Yeah. It's just a complete gap in the market.
And I think that's a good point, though. Is like, I think an entrepreneur, like one of the things you have to be able to is see those types of gaps, right? I mean, you just start adding it up and you kind of look around, and you don't have to do a freaking 6 month freaking focus group case study with all that shit. Just like, can you see
let's
it?
gather all these riders together and ask them. First off, we sell motorcycles to people who never had a motorcycle.
Right.
So I'd already be missing right there. Right.
Which is kind of a good point, like to our initial conversation about these exercises that people will go through. It's like anything. It's like being in a relationship. If my trust with my partner is not there, and I wanted to dig in and try to prove out something I think is not true,
right?
I'm gonna build a case for myself.
Sure.
And it's just gonna be poisonous to me in the same way that it is with the business. If I said that there's a market gap, and if I would have gone out and researched any of those to the gills and gone to a bunch of investors, like it would have never gotten off the ground.
Right.
Never gotten off the ground, because there will always be a competitor. There's always be a threat.
Right.
Oh, well, what are you going to do? A good response from an investment team will be like, well, that's a great idea, Mark, about this Janus motorcycle, but what are you going to do when Harley Davidson up and decides one day to start their own little light bike market?
Right.
They're going to just annihilate you. How are you going to defend on that? Well, I have no freaking answer for you on that.
Right.
Well, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to beat them to the freaking punch. Left and right hook them.
And just be a lot more scrappy in the marketing, and just create a following and service that they can't do as a big company.
Exactly.
Like, we have had people that have a problem with their motorcycle, and Janus flies somebody out there to fix it, even if it's like the dumbest little thing. A lot of it is sort of a problem in the business model, because neophytes don't know anything. So they're trying to create a lot of video training and other ways to serve people. Like the new 450, they can actually download from the computer on the bike and send that file to Janus to tell them what's wrong. But you're so right. I mean,
if you
can't answer that question, because you don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah, no one really knows, man. Yeah. No one really knows the true answer in the future, and I think it's up to the entrepreneur to just there's a sixth sense of just knowing that it can be done, right? And you just kind of go at it. And then I think that tactically speaking, and what I would always advise is, like, unless you have this skill set, and even if you do, I mean, you may want to, remove yourself from it and being responsible. But, we talked about earlier, legal, accounting.
I know.
HR type stuff.
Stuff's important, and somebody's got to be doing it.
Somebody's got to be doing it, and you need to find a partner for that stuff. Like, it will screw you in 30 days, man.
See, that is so true, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they may be very creative and they may be very good at selling stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. But they're not always so good on these sort of longer term, sort of back-endy systems and processes that really will define whether or not you're ultimately going to be successful.
Yeah.
Again, it takes a team.
It does,
right?
man. I mean, you don't want to be the person sit behind QuickBooks learning the software for 10 hours so that you can send out invoices. I don't either. I mean, I my first business I ever had, I tried doing everything myself, and it just, did nothing but waste my time, stress me out.
Right.
And I ended up losing a lot of money because of it. I mean, because you just can't. So I think a good entrepreneur would go find their team and partner with people, cut deals, make the promises that you got to make, and stick with them. That's the important part. But, I mean, I would, if anybody's starting a business, I would say, don't try to be an accountant. Don't try to be an attorney.
So true. But I will say, though, I totally agree with that. But you need a really good attorney who understands business stuff. It's not the same one you went to for your divorce. It's not the one that does your wills, trusts, and estates.
True.
They're all specialized. And so you need somebody that really understands, like, what a small business / startup person needs.
Yeah.
Secondly, have to have enough understanding of accounting that you know what you're looking at.
True.
Because it is the language of business.
True.
And, it's a great deficiency, I think, of a lot of students that I end up with who have only had like one class perhaps in financial accounting or none.
Yeah.
And they, I just recently made a new friend who's an accounting professor in my college. Of course, he's a big car and motorcycle guy, so we bonded on that level. But we started talking about it. He's like, "Yeah, the accounting is backwards. The students really need to take managerial and cost accounting first, and then learn about debits and credits because they need to understand balance sheet is critical. You got to have enough assets, you got to have enough working capital. This thing to make it." Income statement, you got to do something you can actually make a profit on. It's not all cash based, and then cash flow.
Sure.
And so I do think they have to have enough understanding of that. Now, do they need to sit there and figure out the exact accounting categories and file all the tax forms and do the payroll?
Right.
No.
Yeah. But they need to be able to read. They need to read be able to read the statements. And I don't think that you stop learning that stuff either, because as you grow, you're going to have to be able to speak to it, look at it, review it, and have dialogue about it. And I'll raise my hand to be guilty that I still don't have the knowledge that like you do on that side. I mean, that's always been
taken me a long
weakness.
time.
Yeah, but
it really has a really long time to develop that. I had an MBA with a specialization in finance.
What? You didn't ever tell me that.
Okay.
Man. Well,
Come on.
dang, man. Well, shit, that's why. Like I always felt inferior to you when we talk about that stuff.
No, but
I would have asked you more questions. I was just like, I didn't want to say anything.
I did not.
You'd fire me.
No, come on. You didn't believe that. But even in spite of that education, I'm saying all the years of doing the stuff, it has taught me a lot. There's no question. You got to keep learning for sure. That's got to be a quality of an entrepreneur. Is
Absolutely.
a willingness and interest in continuing to learn new stuff.
Yeah. And I'd say meeting people, like you have to be able to go out. I mean, like you look at any of them in the past, like these folks were shaken, you know, like you. We go out in the market, you go in the community, you have to get involved in the community, like Sam Walton.
Right.
Like, I mean, that was one of his big things is like be involved in the community, participate in your community. You can't just sit in a hole and sit behind a computer.
All his stores too. I mean, I told you I met him at the grand opening of the Sam's Club in 1985 or 6.
That's cool.
In
Where at?
DFW area. It was in Hurst, Euless, Bedford. And we did the site engineering. I think it was the first Sam's Club in Texas.
Huh.
But my boss, Jerry Allen, of the Jerry Allen Award. And I went to the grand opening and met Sam. But yeah, he was actively involved, moving around, meeting everybody. That's a good point. You can't just hole up and expect everything to happen.
Mm-mm. And it's kind of a little bit scary as to, or I'd say, it's too much of a stigma now that where you can actually do that because of all the tech things that are going on.
It's easier
but you really can't, man. I mean, even if you're in a tech startup, you're like, there's somebody within there as they get capitalized.
It's true.
They're bringing a team that's the front end.
Yeah,
you got to have face, man.
You're absolutely right. You do need that. That's essential.
So back on the finance thing, real quick though, I wanted to point out, like, I was weak in that. But here's the other thing: as an entrepreneur, I'm always the first to wave my hand and say, "That's not my skill set."
Right.
So I need to partner. With somebody that's like I had partners in my businesses, and they were and my partners were really strong in finance, or at least had that mindset. They were really strong in operations, and JS, my recent partner at White Spider is just really great at like strategic and operational vision casting and stuff like that.
Well, that's essential. But you just brought up another thought to my mind. I think if you're back on what it takes to be successful as a startup and as a going entrepreneurial concern, one thing is you can't be too much of a control freak. You got to be a control freak on a certain level.
Agreed.
But you also have to be willing to just let go.
Absolutely.
Of something.
Absolutely.
Okay. because nobody's going to want to work for you if you're going to micromanage them. They need to have some runway, and
Yep.
maybe you are the best at everything. You're probably not, but you think
Yeah.
you are. But until you let somebody else do something, you'll never find out whether they're better than you or
How
not.
many, on that point, how
Okay.
many stories have you heard about employees
Mhm.
or partners that have experienced an entrepreneur who thought that he or she was the answer to all things?
Oh, I've heard a lot of
It's
stories.
so poisonous, and
It
it's
is.
just disgusting. Like, no one wants to work with that person.
They're not going to be able to grow their business.
No, they won't. And I've never seen them grow.
If they do, they grow to maybe 25 or 30 people, and they're all order takers, and there's nobody who's really good there.
And they're miserable.
And they're unhappy. And if the founder is gone or dies or sick or whatever, the whole thing just collapses instantly because nobody can make a decision. So that's one thing, though. And the other thing is, this is something people don't really talk about a lot, but I think it's absolutely critical. You can't be greedy. Okay.
That's true. That's so true.
You remember when we bought the magazine group back at Zweig Group or Zweig White at the time. Do you remember that? Right.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And we had an ad sales guy who made more money than any of us.
Yeah.
He was making more than twice what I was at the time.
Yeah, right.
Now, ultimately, he wasn't worth it.
Right.
Okay. We'll agree on that. But if you're greedy, you will never, you got to part with some rewards and things. I just love it. You know, I see all these LinkedIn articles about how to have an engaged workforce. Well, you've got to communicate. You got to do, you got to be a good leader, whatever. Like, wait a minute, stop. Do you share your financial information? Do you pay people well? Do you share your profits? Well, we don't do any of those things, but we do have a lot of nice meetings and team building sessions. You're not going to make it. Okay. Quit with the bullshit. Let's get right down to what it really is going to take.
Yeah.
All right. You want an engaged workforce? Sell them ownership. Cut them in on the profits. Tell them how the business makes money or loses money.
Mm-hmm.
Then we'll get some engagement.
Share.
Yeah.
Because your business should never be about yourself. It's about the business and about the people. It's about I would even say it goes further. It's about the community. It's about a lot of things. It certainly is not about the entrepreneur.
Well, that's again, I hate to keep going back to Genesis, but it's one of the things I like about these young guys. They're not worried about having controlling ownership interest. They're more worried about making the company successful. Okay. They're like, that'll all take care of itself if the company's successful.
And it will.
You know, and I agree with that philosophy. I was never worried about having more than 50% as long as I felt needing to keep that, you know, because I always felt like I'm going to be carrying my weight. I'm not going to get thrown out of here because I'm still working, and all I care about is the value of my ownership interest is going up, not the percentage. People get really hung up on that.
That's a good quote.
Yeah.
I got something else too.
Okay. What's that?
So something I think that requires is basically that my motto has always been, I never fail.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And it's about reputation. It's about your word.
Most important thing, you can recover from any disaster if your reputation's intact.
Absolutely, man. And I mean, it's only been hit a couple times, but that's been beyond my control. And I can still attest and wave my hand today that I did everything in my power.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't, right? You can't. But I mean, I would bleed in the streets. I would stay up all night for 2 nights straight. I would sacrifice whatever it took to make sure that my client or an employee at my company or whoever that was in whatever that situation was that revolved around my business, that I was there.
Yep.
And I would not fail that person or those situations.
You're so right about that. I mean, your reputation is the most critical thing.
Absolutely.
And that's what nobody talks about with failure, you know, and we've had that discussion, I think, on a previous episode here about how failure's all glorified. Failure's great. Fail often, fail forward, Failure sucks and it hurts your reputation. It
does.
And that's the problem.
That's true.
It does reputational damage. And that's why you can't afford to have a lot of failures.
because business comes. I mean, like, you could market, send emails, send direct mail or whatever, or do ads, but it's never going to carry the weight as me telling, hey, Mark,
Mhm.
Janus Motorcycles is a really great company and they make a great product. You should get you one. If you're going to buy a motorcycle, you're going to get that.
Sure. Yeah. No,
That's the most solid form.
Yeah.
But if I said, dude, don't mess with them. Their freaking owners are greedy.
Right.
They don't come through on their promises.
Yeah.
Their
stuff is crap.
Their stuff is crap. They suck. They've screwed me over.
Right.
Done.
Yeah.
Done. And I mean, in those couple of instances I was telling you about earlier that beyond my control, they hurt. They have hurt. I have seen it happen in multiple instances. Now, it didn't destroy us, but man, it was certainly some friction in certain things.
Oh gosh. Well, we had some setbacks at Zweig Group, Zweig White, when we bought that thing back. You talk about damaged reputation, and my name was on the door, even though I didn't own it.
But you came back.
Yeah. And
it brought some credibility and you fixed it.
We did.
Case by case. I remember sitting in a room with you, right? And you were like saying what to go do because you knew that so well. And we found ways out of those holes because you cared. You did not, like, it was painful for the company at times to, I mean, so like we would get some cash in. And I mean, they weren't small checks, but they were gone within 20 minutes.
Oh yeah.
But we would list out who it goes to because those are the ones that you promised.
Yeah. Sonia was really good at that, man. She was a great negotiator with everybody. And
she was.
She had these deals where if we didn't pay it on this, if we were like 1 minute late, she was like, God damn it, we will pay, But yeah, your reputation is absolutely crucial, and failure is glorified, and you can't afford a lot of failures, but you never fail if you never give up. You just keep trying. You just keep. I remember selling years ago. I worked for this firm in Memphis. Okay. And my boss said, we got to get back to working for the Memphis Airport Authority. Okay. So I would go to every single airport authority board meeting, and I would just go there and sit there and watch it. Okay. And I'd call on the airport director, and he's like, oh my God. He goes, Pickering, there's no way we're going to work with you guys. You guys screwed up so bad. Okay. That we can't possibly work with you. And so I found out what happened. We designed this, or we did the construction administration on a road that was an approach to the airport.
Yeah.
And whatever happened, I don't know. But when you rode over it, it was like going over a washboard. Ba-bum, ba-bum, ba-bum. So everybody, all the airport authority board members, everybody rides over this road. It's real rough. Ba-bum, ba-bum, even though it's new, They hated us for that. But I just kept going and going and going and going. We'll do whatever you need. Just the worst job, the biggest problem you got, the thing that nobody else will do. And after about 1.5 years, broke through.
That's
through
great,
that,
man.
You got to
just
not giving up.
Not giving up. You got to show up and not give up.
Just keep going after it. But really, it was a great lesson for me to learn.
Yeah. You know what that is? That's like you have to invest. You really do.
No, they always say in any selling relationship, you must create deposits in order to be able to make a withdrawal. And that's a quote of my friend, Matt Lewis, who owns Lewis Ford and Chrysler Jeep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to make deposits if you want to be able to make a withdrawal.
To bring on.
We'll get Matt in here. He's really different. Runs a great business, family owned, 4th generation. And he's kept that place blowing and growing.
Well, they're building a huge new shop out there.
They are. It's going to be absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
But Matt's doing a lot of interesting stuff, like giving warranties out of twice what the manufacturer will, and some other things. They don't, they quote a price that's the same price. They'll write you a check for your car, or they don't do this playing games with trade-in value.
Right.
He does a lot of interesting things over there. And to be a family-owned business with all the Lewises there are, I mean, there's so many of them in this area, and but only 3 of them work there.
I think that one of the things, like in our conversation today, that I think it would be great for a listener to or an entrepreneur to take away would be all those stuff that we talked about when you asked the question, what do you think it requires of a startup?
Mm-hmm.
Genuinely, that's what we're talking about. Yet you'll miss if you go to the route of being a pitch deck entrepreneur.
Yeah. A wantrepreneur.
A wantrepreneur.
Coffee shop wantrepreneur. You want to see my pitch deck? Here it is.
Dude, because if you don't learn how to do all those things, I wouldn't invest in you.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't think that you have the character, and I mean, in all honesty, I mean,
you're betting on the people. That's it, man.
You are.
More than anything.
And if you take someone's money,
mm-hmm.
if I took your money on an idea and on some spreadsheets,
mm-hmm.
and I don't have the character to bleed out,
mm-hmm.
on that idea and have that passion and have that never fail mentality, that's danger zone, man.
I agree.
I mean, it gets ugly real quick.
I agree.
I mean, it doesn't take much for people to get really nervous when they put money into something. I mean, you're talking like within 2 weeks, I'm going to start. If everything changes.
Yeah.
Everything changes real quick. I'm like,
does.
What has Mark been doing for the last 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Because I don't see anything coming back. I don't
feel
you.
it. No, I hear you.
And then I'm giving you a call. You're nervous, or whatever. I mean, we're just it's a very tense relationship.
There's no question about that. I will say that I have invested in some businesses where I had requirements that they do certain things in order to get the money. Like, I'm not going to do this unless we create a bonus program that pays everybody on a consistent basis a certain percentage of the profits, or we go open book, or we do one thing or another.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it's so important.
Yeah.
To do those things. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I can I think that's a good point is once you put your money into it, you want to make sure the business is doing certain things. But there's a ton of opportunities out there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just it's absolutely wild, the stuff that I see.
Yeah.
I just put one of my friends in touch with somebody. So listen to this. There's free businesses out there that people can get. This guy just collects businesses. He's done 1 million startups. He buys stuff. He operates it. He's got a lot of different things going on. But anyway, so this other guy I know has had a car business, used car lot, for 40 years in one location. Now, he consistently made $250,000 to $500,000 a year off that business. He's very good at it. Okay. And
is that revenue or profit?
Profit. He made $250,000 to $500,000 a year on his car lot. Very, very knowledgeable about cars, got a good network, knows how to treat people, got some customers he dealt with for 40 years. Okay.
Yeah.
He turned the business over to his son-in-law a couple years ago. All right. At no cost. And because he wanted to help him out.
Yeah.
And he's getting older. He's got other things he does. And so this guy has just let it wind down. And so I was talking with him a month or so ago, and he said, I'm going to get out of it. I'm just looking for somebody to take over the lease of this building here, and I'm going to get out of it. Like, you're just going to give up? He's like, yeah, I can't buy anything and make any money on it, and whatever. So all I could see there is, holy cow.
Yeah.
Here's a business that's been in one place for 40 years that's enabled somebody to make $250,000 to $500,000 a year. Okay. And it's a free business.
Wow.
Because you don't have to pay anything for it. All you got to do is sign a lease.
Yeah.
You're going to go buy cars. Yeah. You need some cash for inventory, but the business itself has zero value in this case, but it does have value.
Yes.
So I turned my friend onto it, and I brought it to the attention of one of my students who was very interested in it, met with the guy and said, you know what? I just don't have the capital to do it right now. But I'm, thanks. I said, okay, I'm going to turn it over to somebody else. So I turn it over to my other friend. He actually recruits the brother of the guy that I put in touch with it.
Are you serious?
And now if he does this business, he's going to put the two of them into it, and he'll be the financier for it. But my point of all this is there's all these opportunities sitting out here. They're just like everywhere you turn, I just see one thing after another. Boom, 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 boom.
Yep.
Problem can be solved. Market need or want can be met.
And you don't have to go do a pitch deck and raise a bunch of capital for it and get a bunch of other folks to get behind you.
You really don't. I mean, in this case, you could go borrow the money from a bank to do the inventory. You could just use an asset if you got one to get a line of credit.
Well, heck, I mean, you even have collateral on what you're buying.
Right. Exactly. Well, if you want to get into the floor planning, which is a hassle, because then they keep the titles, the bank. But there's ways to do stuff, right?
Right.
That's my point.
Yeah.
There's ways to do stuff.
There's not just one way.
No.
Which is the thing that we're talking about. That's the deception.
It is.
And it's unfortunate because it can stumble. And I can imagine, I wonder if somebody would do a study on it.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of entrepreneurs that have gone down this single promoted way, that have gone and done all this work, spent months to build up a pitch deck and to do all the things and go on these rounds. And we're told, no. And what they're doing today, are they still starting up a business, or are they just working back and they just forever have a bad taste in their mouth about what an entrepreneur is?
Yeah, I'd say most of them are probably not doing it. They give up on it.
Yeah, man.
They're
and that's not good for us as a country, even.
No, it's not. You know, there are a lot of barriers to, well, I shouldn't say there's a lot of barriers to starting things, because they're right, but some of them are really annoying.
Yeah.
So just like that glass business. Okay, listen to this. You know, I got to file for a sales tax permit in the state, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And then I'm going to have to deal with the potential of 50 state sales and 50 different sales tax arrangements. There is a company that provides software. There's several of them out there that'll help with that.
Yeah.
Okay. But so I got on the state website to look at what I need to do to get a sales tax number. So, well, first thing is you've got to have a license for your business in the city that you operate. So now keep in mind, I'm never going to take title to any goods. It's a website. You sell products online. The orders go to a company that drop ships the final product. All right. So now I've got to get a business license in Fayetteville to do that. All right. So then I looked at that and it says, well, if your business is less than 60 days old, no problem. But if the business is an established business and you haven't done this before, you'll pay penalties. I've had this entity for 13 years, but it did not. The legal entity that's doing the business is MZ Ventures, Inc.
Yeah.
Okay. It's never had products to sell, but it's a 13-year-old company. So does that mean now that I need to get this business? It was just a holding company for other investments. You understand that?
Yeah.
Okay. So now this holding company that had no operations at all is going to get fined in order to get a business license in the city, which is required in order to be able to get a sales tax permit. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that just drives me mad, and it's unnecessary. First off, why does the city of Fayetteville need a business license from me? There's only one reason.
Money.
Yep. That's it. It's a hidden tax.
It is. I have yet to ever have the government come over and help me out with something ever. I mean, and I'm not saying, but I mean, it's the truth. Like, I think that is what entrepreneurs need to understand, is that they're not going to help.
No. And don't wait for them to help you.
No, and if you're going to go down the grant way, like, I would be nervous about that. Not. I think that there might, like, I always admired somebody that can understand the way that government could help, and they know how to navigate, but that you should probably be involved in that for quite some time before you start trying to access that, because it is not easy.
Just those little frustrations, though, are the kinds of things I think really hold people back. Yeah. But I haven't filed for my sales tax permit yet, because I got to go fight the city of Fayetteville. Is going to say I had a business that was here a long time and I was operating without a license.
Can you set up a new LLC under the new MZ Ventures?
I don't want to set up a new LLC. Yeah. I don't want to have another entity. I got too many entities. The tax situation is already too complicated.
Franchise taxes and all that.
Yeah, I just don't. And that's what Sonia told me. Oh, get ready. They're going to ask you what computers you have and stuff so they can tax you.
Man, that is pathetic.
Okay.
That is, I mean, I've had to do that recently too. Assessments.
Yeah.
Commercial assessments. I mean, come on.
Right.
It's like, you should only have to do that if, like, at a certain criteria.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, do you have 50 or more employees?
Yes.
Do you manufacture goods?
Yes.
If so, then you need to get assessed.
No, I got a computer I use for like 4 or 5 other businesses, and and my job at the U of A.
Yeah, it's like that's just stunting entrepreneurism.
It is. But those are the kind of things that I think, frustrate people. And thank God we live in Arkansas instead of California.
Oh my gosh.
Because in California or New York, some of the rules are really, really difficult for people to navigate.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the reasons I think places like this are growing.
Oh yeah.
Is they're just a little more business friendly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And it's still not very business friendly, but
no, it's not.
But it's more business friendly.
Yeah. Fayetteville is itself, I think, it has somewhat of a reputation for not being super business friendly,
especially on the real estate side. And
yeah.
But
anyway, we're out of that business, thank God. Well, not totally out of it. We still got that one building over there.
Yeah.
21,000 square feet. I'd love to sell it to you.
21,000 square feet?
Yes. Yeah, it's over by Baum Stadium.
Oh yeah, it's the what do you call it? The multi
University Plaza. Yeah.
But it's what do you call it?
Multi-tenant.
Yeah.
Mixed use.
Mixed use. Thank you.
Yeah, mixed use project.
Yeah, so it's got retail.
Yeah, it's got, but mostly it's not retail.
How much you want for it?
Well, we can talk about that after the show.
We're gonna do negotiation right here live, man.
Hey, we can talk about it after the show.
It sounds great. It sounds fair.
But anyway, so it's been great talking today.
Yeah, you too, Mark.
And it's always fun getting together with you, buddy.
It is, man. There's plenty to talk about.
There is indeed. I look forward to our next show, and maybe we'll bring a guest on next week.
Sounds good.
Okay.
I'll be here.
Okay.
Thanks,
see you,
buddy.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Big Talk About Small Business. If you have any questions or ideas for upcoming shows, be sure to head over to our website, www.bigtalkaboutsmallbusiness.com, and click on the Ask the Host button for the chance to have your questions answered on the show. Stay connected with us on LinkedIn at Big Talk About Small Business. And be sure to head over to our website to read articles, browse episodes, and ask questions about upcoming shows.